And right now we do not have ours live yet because we're still implementing it and getting it ready to go live. So I want to go into Maricopa and show you just a couple of things about the system. Oops. So this is the City of Maricopa's website, and this is how your public is going to view their agendas and minutes. Right now, it's showing Board of Adjustment, so you can do searches. So if you want to pull up all of the Board of Adjustment meetings for 2012, you do a search. If you want all of them, all the council meetings, and come on. You should be able to do this. Okay. Well, okay, I'll just talk through it. Anyway, you can do a search, and they should all pop up for you, and then you should be able to select them. So if I go into the legislation button, this is a search button. If you put in, here it says year, well, I'm just going to put in 2012 now. City of Maricopa has actually, they've been on the system for about 1.5 years now. So if you put all types here, and say you want to search for library, anything on library, you type your word in, and you search legislation, and what it's going to do is it's going to pull up everything in the last 1.5 years that went to council. And then you can just go through and see. So you can do a search. If you want to delete that out of there, if you want to look up every ordinance that went to council for the last year, you just click on ordinance, search legislation, and there are all the ordinance that passed or went to council for the whole entire year with the City of Maricopa. If you want more specific information, you click on the file number, and it will take you in, and there's the documents, the attachments, and this is what we'll be doing with ours too on the website for the public, and you can pull up their documents that way. So everything is all right there, and if you just go up to the calendar, again, you're supposed to be able to sort all of the items. Okay, there it goes. Let's see. And it will pull up all of the City Council regular meetings. So if you want to do the search just for those, you can do that. It will go into meeting details if you click on this button here. Then you have every item that went to council. Now this is a newer meeting, so they haven't had action on these yet, but if there was action, it would tell you exactly if it passed, that type of thing. Again, you can go into the agenda here. And this is what our agenda is going to be similar to. I think it looks very professional. And of course, we're tweaking it for our purposes, but it will look real similar to this one here. So that's just to give you an idea what's coming down the pike. And I think couple more things. Also, under boards and commissions and committees, we will have also a tab up there on our page. And what you'll be able to do is you'll actually be able to go into the Board of Adjustment or any of our committees, and you'll be able to see the people who are on that committee and their expiration dates. So these will tell you that when they were appointed and when their appointments expire. And we'll have ours set up the same way. And we will have another tab up here that shows archives. Because the way we're going into a new system, everything starting on January 28th forward is where we're going to be able to do our searches in here. So, you know, at the beginning there won't be a lot to search for, but eventually all that will build up. So we will have an archive tab here, and that way then that will take you into the old Granicus page where all the citizens can see the old council meeting minutes and agendas. So that is just a really quick overview. I just wanted to kind of show you what is going to be happening in 2 weeks. And so what's next? January 28th is our first council agenda with the new system. So it's going to look different. And then in February, staff and council are going to be trained on the iPad. It's going to look a little different and still the same kind of things where you can highlight and that type of thing. But so we'll be working that on in February. So thank you.
Any comments from council? Yes.
I think this is fantastic. I actually use the city website quite a bit, and this looks like it's so much more user-friendly. Am I allowed to ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Okay, sorry. Just checking. What I'm curious about is for any of the previous meetings prior to this January 28th, You said there will be an archive tab, so I would be able to go back and still look at 2011 or 2010 meetings.
Correct.
Okay. And through the search button, will that only start searching the new information that starts January 28th, or would that go back as well? And, if I put in ordinance, would that go all the way back to 2010, 2011, or just the new?
Only the new, starting January 28th.
Okay. Would I be able to do a search on our city website for ordinance and still get into the previous?
I don't believe we have a search criteria for the old Granicus information,
Okay.
but we would be able to, get that information.
But the city clerk's office
Right.
would be able to furnish
Correct.
that, so we'd
Okay.
have to go through the city clerk for anything in
Correct.
the past.
Great, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Yes, Vice Mayor?
Just one quick question, which is kind of off topic. First of all, this sounds very nice, and I look forward to it. I just know in the past that we've had issues with Granicus in the video live streaming of our council meetings. Has that, I know this is different, but it's still Granicus. So have those little bugs been all worked out? I know a lot of times it was because it seemed, maybe it was the server issue that only so many people could watch it at a time was the problem. But have we been able to fix that?
Mayor Lord, Vice Mayor Osborne, I believe that has been fixed. I have not heard of any problems with the buffering. I've been working with IT on trying to get those problems solved. So in the last several months, I've not heard of any complaints.
I don't know that we've had anything that that big since then, I suppose. Huh?
Yes, Sherry?
That brought up another question. Then will we be able to watch the meetings, like, if we're not available? Before I could never get the video on the iPad. Will this make the video on the iPad?
Yes, Mayor Lord and Councilmember Loretano, with the new iPad features, you're going to have a login for your iPads, and that's going to be for staff and council, and you will be able to see all of the videos. And we did find that you can actually go see the archived videos on there too today. So yes, you will be able to do that.
Great. Any other questions?
So does that mean we'll be FaceTiming in? Put my iPad up here with my little face?
Yes, you can do that. No. I don't know if it's live streamed on there. I think you should be able to do that if you want
I
to.
really don't want to. It's
Okay.
typically in a hotel room, but I just, if it's more, if I know Jen just had the same experience that I did. When you phone in, it's very difficult. There's a 5 or 10 second delay, and then you can't see the meeting, you can't see the presentations, you don't really know what's going on. I mean, it's a struggle to try to attend. So I didn't know if this was
I
going to
can,
improve that.
yeah, Councilmember Stipp, I can look into that and see how that was going to work with the separate iPad for you to use when you're doing a telephone conference. I will definitely look into that.
Okay,
Good
thanks.
question.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now is the time for citizens who would like to address the City Council on any non-agenda items. Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes.
All right. And
Carlos Robles?
Mr. Solis, while you come up, just let me remind you that the council will listen to your comments, and they may take one of the following steps: either respond to criticism, request that staff investigate a report on the matter, or request that the matter be scheduled on a future agenda. And just to make you aware, your limited time is 3 minutes. We have a couple light system. Don't let it make you too nervous. I will help you through this, but the yellow light will come on first. A buzzer will let you know you have 30 seconds left to speak. So before you begin, please, again, identify yourself for us, your name and your address.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Carlos Robles. I'm the Executive Director of Operations for the Agua Fria Union High School District. And I'm here for a couple of things. Number one, to say thank you for several things. The first thing, at the end of the year, we had some things happening around our schools, and I want to thank the police department. Thank you very much for your support. So thank you very much on that. The other one is to thank the planning and zoning, the fire department, the traffic engineers, and all those people that help us pass the permits for our bond projects at Millennium and at Desert Ridge High School. So thank you very much. It's a long process. You know, we went back and forth, and we don't agree sometimes, but we came together. They expedited some things. They waived some fees for the IGA that we have. So it was just it really was very, very nice compared to other places I've been. So I want to thank you very, very much for that. And the last thing, there's an invitation for a groundbreaking ceremony on the 23rd. Dr. Runyon, my superintendent, will come and give you the whole official invitation. But I want to come personally and invite the city, everybody to our. It'll be short and sweet because we have a board meeting that night. So hopefully it's not this cold. And so, but that's the extent of it. A lot of thank yous and a lot of support, and just thank you for helping. So.
Well, Mr. Solis, let me thank you
Robles.
for, pardon me?
Robles.
Roman, did I?
Robles.
I can't hear that. Robles.
R-O-B-L-I-S.
Oh, well, you know, I wear
Robles.
hearing aids.
L-E-S.
Robles. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I do wear hearing aids, and sometimes I don't quite hear the names.
That's not a
So
problem.
please forgive me, but I just want to thank you for coming before us, because you're so right. We have such a wonderful staff, and they are very helpful, and they know a good project when they see one. And they had the students in mind, and so we just want to thank you for coming before the council. I think each and every one of us really appreciate a thank you. It keeps us strong, keeps us going, and we just want to make sure our staff hears it.
Yes,
So they're
by all
the
means.
important people, so thank you
Good.
so much.
Thank you very much.
What time on the 23rd?
It'll be at a Millennium at 4:15.
Thanks.
Great,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Council, thank you, Joanne, for helping me. Let's see, where are we now? Is anybody else in the audience wish to speak on a subject tonight that didn't fill out a card? Okay, well, let's go on to the consent agenda. Would the city clerk please read the consent agenda items A through E, please?
Item A, approve draft minutes of a regular meeting and a special meeting held on December 10th, 2012, and a special meeting held on December 17th, 2012. Item B, approve a request from Randy Goose, representing Walgreens Arizona Drug Company, for a new Series 10 liquor license 100765350 for Walgreens number 12386, located at 9800 South Estrella Parkway. Item C, approve a request from Sawe Zoo, representing Samurai Asian Bistro, LLC, for a new Series 12 liquor license 120795353 for Samurai Asian Bistro Restaurant, located at 330 North Dysart Road. Item D, approve the acceptance of the dedication of an exclusive waterline easement from NMP 3 Estrella Mountain Ranch, LLC, a Delaware corporation, for placement of a water line associated with the Estrella Site 13 water distribution system improvements. Item E1, adopt Resolution 13-1532, declaring as a public record that certain document on file with the city clerk titled Amendment and Replacement of Article 4-4, Unclaimed Property of Chapter 4 of the Goodyear City Code. Item E2, adopt Ordinance 13-1280, amending and replacing Article 4-4, Unclaimed Property of Chapter 4 of the Goodyear City Code, providing severability and an effective date.
Thank you. Does anyone from the public wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Does anyone on the council wish to remove an item from consent agenda? All right, then could I please have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion by Councilman Pizzillo and a second by Councilman Stipp. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Barber?
Aye.
Councilmember Stipp?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Osborne?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Great, thank you. Let's go to the business. And so the first item on the business is a public hearing to consider the submittal of a community development block known as the CDBG application to the Maricopa County Human Services Department. So we'll now open the public hearing, and Katie Wilkin will present. Hello, Katie.
Hi, thank you, Mayor and Council. And if it pleases the Council, I'm going to give a single presentation for both items A and B as they are interrelated. Community Development Block Grant funds can be used for a variety of purposes to meet one of the three national objectives, which is to assist low and moderate income persons, to eliminate or prevent slum and blight, or to meet an urgent need. A wide range of projects are eligible, and I saw many of you this weekend at the ribbon cutting for Parc de Paz. Our last grant allocation was used to make improvements at both Parc de Paz and Palmatier Park. So that's just one example of the type of projects we can do. Approximately $2 million is available through Maricopa County Urban County Program for the fiscal year 13-14 year. Applications are due to Maricopa County on February 8th, and then they will be reviewed by the Community Development Advisory Committee, of which Wally Campbell is our representative and Bill Stipp is our alternate representative. They will then forward a recommendation to the County Board of Supervisors, who will award the funds, and then HUD will review those awards and then release the funds sometime in July, we hope. The city is proposing to submit an application for water line replacement and installing a storm sewer in historic Goodyear. And can I have the Elmo up? Thanks. So it would be to install 2,200 feet of water line behind the homes that face La Jolla Boulevard. There's an alley back there. And also to provide additional water line along Los Olivos Drive. And also to install 2,000 feet of storm drain along the alley that is between the Park Shadows development and the homes that face Loma Linda Boulevard. And this storm drain would also reach Loma Linda Park, and it would provide some benefit to the Loma Linda Park redevelopment because it would alleviate some of the flooding conditions and lost the word there. Flooding conditions that are happening at the park, so it would reduce some of the project costs for that overall development plan. This project might look familiar to you. We did come before you in council several months ago. The county had a special application cycle, and we applied for this grant. But it was rejected by city staff, and I'll explain why. Because we are applying for this project under the Slum and Blight National Objective, we have to tie the project to the city's redevelopment plan. And you've heard this speech before, too, because we've amended the redevelopment plan just last year, too. But they did find that although we amended it to address parks and water lines and sewers, we didn't amend it to identify storm sewers specifically. So we have to amend it once again. And that's item B on tonight's agenda, is to amend it to clarify about the flooding conditions that are going on in that alleyway and spill onto Litchfield Road and into the park and into the homes, and the need for the storm sewer and how that will alleviate slum and blighted conditions in the park. And I just want to note, too, that staff, led by Sherry, Wakefield Signs, will be holding a work session with council to talk about the larger redevelopment issue. Tonight, we're just amending the redevelopment plan so that we can submit this grant application, make that one clarification. But that will come before you in the future, so you can have that larger conversation. I do want to note that the fiscal impact section of the COAC should have included some additional information. The city will be waiving engineering permit fees, and will also, the engineering department graciously offered to do the project design in-house, and that is going to allow us to provide $70,000 worth of in-kind match, which greatly beefs up our application, and that's the kind of thing that CDAC likes to see. The other thing is that because we're using the Slum and Blight National Objective, there is a 30% cap. Only 30% of the allocation can go to that type of activity. And so since the county's allocation is $2 million, that's approximately $600,000. Now, that's just an estimate by the county. I'm sure you're all familiar with everything going on with the federal budget, and they haven't decided what the funding for CDBG is going to be. So we often don't find out to the last minute exactly what the county's allocation is going to be. But they have advised me that I should keep the application under $600,000 because the $2 million is what they're working with. And we're currently at $650,000. We are looking at, we now do have some funds available in the water development fees account, so we might be able to leverage those funds, and putting a cash match would also greatly boost the chances of our project getting funded. I'm also meeting with the engineering department to see if we can reduce the scope at all. So we are going to work to get that down to $600,000. But the resolution is still going to say $700,000 because we can only accept as much as the resolution allows us, and we certainly wouldn't want a resolution to stand in our way of accepting more funds if Congress does give us a larger CDBG allocation than we think. So that does conclude my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No.
Would anybody from the audience like to speak? So with that, I'm closing the public hearing and ask the city clerk to read the resolution by title only, please.
Adopt Resolution 13-1531, authorizing the submission of one application for FY 2013-2014 Community Development Block Grant CDBG program funds to the Maricopa County Human Services Department and authorizing the city manager to execute all documents relating to said applications.
Thank you. Could I have a motion, please, to adopt Resolution 13-1531?
So move.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion by Councilman Campbell and a second by Councilman Pizzillo. Open for council discussion. Councilman Pizzillo.
Just a quick question, Katie. Did you say you had some water resource fees that were available, possibly? Did you say 50?
They're water development fees.
Water
I have
development,
the-
okay.
Do you want the account number?
No, it's
Okay.
common. What I guess what I'm curious about.
I have
is-
that, but I don't know.
You said that.
It's in the CIP.
Okay, and that money is money that's not already committed, I assume, for other water
That's my understanding. I just had a very
Okay.
quick conversation with Jerry Postema and Ken Kennedy, and we have to do some more digging into that.
Okay.
but-
I just, and the reason why I ask is because as we move forward and some of the challenges water's going to have in front of it, I want to make sure that we're not draining that capital project for water projects, so other water projects. So okay.
Mayor.
Yes, Councilman Campbell.
Katie, I'd like you to explain the new step that we will have to take because it's something that my colleagues should know about.
Thank
since
you.
It's very new.
Thank you, Councilmember Mayor. We were just notified of a new development in the CDBG world. This is actually a requirement that's been around for a long time. We do an environmental review with our CDBG projects, just like any federal fund project has to do with this environmental review. There's this provision in the Historic Preservation Act that when you do these environmental reviews, you have to notify any tribes in the area that you may be digging in the ground. And then they have the chance to say that we want to have a cultural survey done if they so wish. Now this is something that's been in there for a long time, but HUD is now cracking down on this. And so in the last round of allocations, they sent out letters to every tribe. I think there's 8 tribes in the county area. And the Tohono O'odham Nation asked for them to be done in the West Valley cities. And, we think there might be a connection to the casino project that they are looking for cultural resources in the West Valley. Buckeye was doing a sidewalk project, and El Mirage is doing a water line replacement in an existing trench, and they both had to do this. It delayed their projects 4 to 6 months, and I think it cost an estimated $3,000 that's not refundable by the project for this to do. So our guess is that because Goodyear is also in the West Valley, we would likely be asked to do this if we get funded. My recommendation would be that after we hear from the County Board of Supervisors, if they are recommending funding of our project, it would be likely we would get those funds. At that time, we might want to start looking into this cultural survey process, and because at that time we should know we'll get funding. But that will be a $3,000 fee, but it is a small cost for $600,000, so we do think it is still worth doing. But do you have anything else to?
Well, I just wanted to add that if we are lucky enough to get this allocated to us, will this finish the water sewer line replacement for historic Goodyear?
Thank you, Councilmember and Mayor. Yes, it will finish it in the historic Goodyear area.
Okay.
So.
And the last thing I want to just tell council is that one of the cities, El Mirage, is not able to finish their grant, and they're going to have to give their grant back because they were not able to get this study done quick enough. So it's something that we have to pay for ourselves. It cannot come out of the grant money. And so be prepared that we'll be talking about that if we're lucky to get the grant.
Thank you, Molly. Councilman Loretano.
I just want to know, what does that entail, and if they, I assume it's archaeology, some sort of historic fragments or facts, and what happens if they find something? What's the delay? And that's what I was just going to ask, what is the delay as to the project? Do they extend our time if something is found?
Thank you, Councilmember Mayor. I am not an expert in this, so I don't know the details. I know that there's different classes of this cultural survey, and it can go all the way from just going out to the site and observing visually whether there's anything to be seen, but I think it can go deeper into actually digging up certain areas and seeing if there's any artifacts found. If there are artifacts found, it can significantly delay the project. Again, I haven't dealt with this personally. I don't know if you have before, Sherry, but
No, she's going to enlighten us on this.
Yeah.
Yes, Sherry.
Mayor, council members, it is the case that during the cultural review you can encounter, pottery shards, living conditions, et cetera, from history that will then need to be extricated and documented and returned to the tribe of origin. So it can significantly cost, and it can be a significantly long process, but it does preserve the cultural history of the site, and so that's what the process would look like.
Vice Mayor?
So currently, if there was to be a flood, and we do not have these storm sewers in this area, where's the waterman going, and is this area in a flood zone?
thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor. This area is not in a flood zone.
Okay.
My understanding is that it usually floods into park shadows. It'll sometimes go into the, a lot of those residents have block walls, so some of them don't get as affected as others. And it also floods out Litchfield Road on really bad rains.
I was just curious, because then I was sitting there thinking of that area that if the 100-year flood hit and people in those areas didn't have flood insurance and we didn't have storm sewers, what a real nightmare that could be. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Stipp?
Not related to the sewer project, but related to CDBG. One of the items that CDBG allows us to go for is economic development issues, et cetera. Is that part of the greater redevelopment story later? If we're adjusting the plan again, is this the time? Do we need to do it later?
Mayor, Councilman Stipp, excellent question. We do propose to come to council here in about 6 weeks and talk to you about different phases of economic development and redevelopment and kind of future planning, if you will, that will include the economic development projects that we would propose for the community. So we will have to revisit the redevelopment plan at that time. But the intent of the process that we'll do going forward is really to identify future funding sources and, if you will, a more holistic vision for engaging different parts of the community in the redevelopment discussion, whether it's hardscape, streetscape, community residential redevelopment, and or industrial commercial redevelopment. So there will be another phase to revising the redevelopment plan.
And I'm not sure that my question is specifically related to the redevelopment as it is to CDBG, funding requests, et cetera, as the alternate for the last year and a half or so. That's been one of the things that they've said, you've got a better chance of funding these than you do sidewalks and water lines, and here we are with a water line project.
That's correct. The interesting thing about the economic development funds is it's kind of a chicken and an egg scenario until you have a project in hand, and if you can be timely, and if your application fits the funding cycle, and if you have it in your economic development plan, you could be eligible to receive the funds. And so we would hope that during that visioning session that we conduct ourselves through, we will then have a list of projects that could be on the list and be in the plan, and then we'd be eligible going forward.
Great, thanks.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Could I ask the city clerk for a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Barber?
Aye.
Councilmember Stipp?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
All right, now we're on item B, to consider approving an amendment to the City of Goodyear redevelopment plan. Katie, you're back on.
I don't have any further information to provide
Okay,
from my
all
first
right.
presentation.
Then I'll ask, are there any speaker cards?
No.
Is there anybody from the audience who would like to speak? Thank you. Then I'd ask the city clerk to read the resolution by title only, please.
Adopt Resolution 13-1530, approving an amendment to the City of Goodyear redevelopment plan and establishing an effective date.
Thank you. So could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 13-1530 and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion by Councilman Stipp and a second by Councilman Pizzillo. Open for council discussion. No discussion. I ask the city clerk, please, for roll call vote.
Councilmember Campbell.
Aye.
Councilmember Barber.
Aye.
Councilmember Stipp.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Osborne.
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano.
Aye.
Mayor Lord.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. Now we're on item C, to consider approving to proceed with the design of the fleet and equipment management facility. Regis Reed to present. Regis?
Mayor, Lord, members of council, thank you for the opportunity to present this to you this evening. Staff has prepared a brief presentation for you to help you understand what you'll be taking action on. We're going to be speaking about the fleet and equipment management facility currently located just north of the Fire Station 181 off of Yuma. A little background on it. The facility is approximately 30 years old. It serves a population of 68,000 currently, and we're projected to grow to approximately 80,000 by the year 2015. The fleet growth at that time will go from 300 vehicles to 400 vehicles. Some of the challenges with the current facility we have is the lack of functional space. You can see we've highlighted in red there, that space is just under 1 acre. The approximate square footage of the building itself is 1,300 square feet. It has 3 small light vehicle bays and just has a terrible challenge with maneuvering vehicles around the area and within the facility itself. There's also a security risk. The location is surrounded on 3 sides by a short 6-foot fence with no security on top of that fence, and the area between Fire Station 181 and the facility has no fence whatsoever. The functional workspace is also a big challenge for the staff there. During the summer months, it's very hot, and the 3 bays that are currently there only house small vehicles and autos. All of the larger vehicles, fire trucks, garbage trucks, things like that, have to be serviced either outside completely or under the 2 covered awnings with no sides on them. So as you can imagine, summer months, the heat is very, very difficult to work in. Winter months, the cold. And of course, when you have rain events, it can actually stop the servicing of the vehicles altogether when they're out from underneath these covered areas. We're proposing to put this down in the Goodyear Operations Center. It's south of the MC-85 and west of Estrella Parkway. In 2008, during an infrastructure improvement plan development study, this was identified as a key location for this type of facility. And in 2011, Erickson Watkins did a master plan for us and identified 10 acres for the fleet and equipment facility down there. The proposed facility will expand to 8 bays. The site will be approximately 9.6 acres. This will allow for proper staging of vehicles so that when we don't have to stack them in such a manner, we've actually got to move vehicles out of the way to get to a service vehicle, which could impact as damage and just takes extra time in servicing these vehicles. It'll also support the proper mechanical systems on the building to heat and cool the building properly, again, so with proper HVAC in the office spaces and evaporative cooling in the actual garage and service bays. We'll also be sure that the new facility also accommodates turning radiuses of large vehicles, something we've struggled with very much so at the small area we're at now. It's very difficult to maneuver the ladder truck and other large vehicles around this tight yard. We'll be adding computer workstations for staff to manage their material management, track the materials, times, and supplies they spend. The budget we have for this is in impact fees, $2.8 million, and we anticipate the cost of design to be no more than $250,000. The source of the funds, again, are development impact fees. 2008 impact study requires that we match the impact fees with 29%, and we are recommending that we utilize the 9.6 acres as our match, which meets that requirement. In 2013, or in FY 2013, there was a budget of approximately $2.8 million in the Public Works Impact Fees program. SB 1525 has eliminated future Public Works Impact Fees at category and requires us to expend these funds we now have by the year 2020. Recommendation before you this evening is to currently move forward with approving us to bring the design feature into this year's capital budget so we can proceed with design in 2013, and then also move to the construction capital program for the construction of the project. At that point, I'll take any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any speaker cards?
No.
Would anybody from the audience like to speak? All right. Then I'd like to have a motion, please, and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Just to clarify that, what the motion is for is to proceed with the design of the fleet and equipment management facility. And I'm sorry, who did the motion? Councilman Loretano, a motion, and second by Councilman Campbell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Can we discuss?
Can we
it a
discuss
second?
I didn't give you discussion. How do we back that up, City Clerk? Lawyer? Pardon me? Just have your discussion.
17 seconds
I
of
really got
blank
through
tape.
that one quickly, didn't I? All right, I'm opening this for discussion. Councilman Stipp.
I've got
17 seconds.
17 seconds of dead space. The first question I have is: are we going to utilize Arrington Watkins for this, since they're already familiar with the site?
We're going to utilize the professional services on-call list we have, and truly, honestly, by coincidence, they are the next on the list for this project. If we can move the project forward before we have any other projects come up, they would be the designer of record and the one we'd negotiate with for a contract.
Okay, and then the second thing for as if the pictures weren't enough, personal experience at the fleet place, bringing trucks over, et cetera. I know it's been a few years, and I can only imagine it's gotten worse. If there is something that, and I wish we could do we're doing something for PD, because that is even worse, if you can imagine. But this is the next worst. So I would strongly encourage everybody to get behind this, and let's get these folks into a proper workspace.
So we should vote on it?
That's what I'm saying.
Councilman Barber.
I have a question. You had talked about earlier that our population is nearing 80,000. At what population level will this become too small? How long are we looking at before then we need to expand?
We're
once again?
projecting, this is actually going to be a phased project. First phase will take us out to at least 2015 and beyond, we anticipate. But the project is easily added to by the way that we're going to have a design with Arrington Watkins. That'll be first phase of a multiple phase project, increasing yard size, increasing building size, and it'll be designed as such to where that can be done without disrupting operations going on at the time.
I'm sorry, that's down here. Councilman Campbell was next.
I just am delighted to see this come forward because I can't imagine our employees working out in 115-degree heat. I did go take another tour through there. I've been through there now 3 times. It's not any better yesterday than it was 6 months ago. So thank you very much, Regis, and thank you for your work on this project.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Councilman Loretano.
Yeah, I would agree, or 40-degree heat as we had today. I mean, that had been miserable today. I just have kind of 2 questions. One is the aesthetics. We always ask for four-sided architecture. I just ask that you keep in mind that people going up to Australia are going to see this, so if we could kind of keep that in mind on the looks from the road, I think that's kind of important. We don't want to see a bunch of cars there. I understand what it's going to be used for in fleet, and that's important. If we could just keep the aesthetics in mind. And then the other question is having the traffic, a lot more traffic going in and out off of Estrella. We've had several really bad accidents recently coming off that mountain, and it's not the city's fault, but my concern is people speed like crazy down that. What kind of safeguards are we going to do with the extra traffic going in and out of that area?
Councilman Loretano, Mayor Lord, we're actually addressing that in Phase 1 of the Goodyear Operations Center. We're developing Romley Road, which is in alignment to the current treatment plant building, public works building there, and it'll be a designed intersection out there just north of the existing Rozier Road. We will leave Rozier open for the large vehicles that get back into the treatment plant, but this will be the day-to-day vehicle access, and it'll be a controlled intersection and with turn lanes and decel lanes and things like that. At this time, there's no plan for a signal there. However, we'll take a look at that in the future. If it warrants, we'll look at moving that project forward.
You mean off of Rozier? is where the most.
No,
Romney.
it's off of Romley.
Okay, so
Right.
Rozier isn't going to be where because that's where they seem to be.
That's where they're at right now, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Pizzillo?
I agree with all the comments. It's well overdue. But one of the questions that I guess would pique my interest, public works impact fees are no longer, correct?
That's correct.
And you have to spend by
2020.
2020. And the 2.8, how much money will you have left after this project?
At this time, it's real hard to say if we'll have any money left after this project. I expect we're going to spend every dollar we have in impact fees to build out the most that we can for this project.
The reason why I mention it's very disappointing with our state legislator and what they did for us, because another thing in my mind why this project's great is it's not using our general fund money. You're using impact fees to do capital projects, and that source is now dried up. So this will be the last project we'll be able to do, is what I'm hearing from you, is because all the money we have will end up going to this. And I think it's kind of disappointing from our state legislature the way they did that, because our only other options will be starting to tap general fund money or other bond to do capital projects, which I think is very unfortunate, because the old saying growth pays for growth doesn't exist anymore. So, I appreciate, that's why I wanted to mention it. I appreciate the fact it's not general fund money being used, but I know that's only short-lived since what the legislature has done. So thank you.
Well, last comment, I can remember this was on the political agenda when I ran for office in 2005. And so, yes, and I took a tour of it way back then.
Yeah.
And let me tell you,
It's awful.
it was unbelievable that mankind could work so hard in the hot summer months and be out in the sun like our employees have been. And you're right, this winter is pretty bad for them. So it lifts a big weight off my shoulders, because I've been fully aware that this needed to be done a long time ago. And so they've kind of stepped back for other departments, and so it's their time to shine. And all of those employees deserve this. So, by the way, very nice presentation tonight. So
Thank you,
thank
Mayor
you very
Ward.
much. More other questions? Is that it? Okay, so are we okay? I mean, I spun this through. I made them all vote positive for this, and
Technically already approved the items.
all right. But you see, when I want something, I'm clever. Right? Right. So, okay. Let's go on to the information items. Council, do you would like to give the public some information on your activities? Councilman Barber?
Just a couple of things. Today, I was among several of us today that went to the 3rd annual Martin Luther King program, and it was spectacular. And it's one of those things, I look back, I'm like, I should have taken my kid out of school and taken her there, because it was so informative. And they just did a beautiful job with that. Another note, I do have on file at the city clerk's office a conflict of interest because of my dealings with Arizona in Action, just so that the public is aware. I have stepped down as the executive director, and I'm no longer paid. I am a volunteer board member, and so I just want to make sure that that is clear. Also, the community bingo hall, I had my first opportunity to head over there with the Chamber and Rotary, and what a fantastic building. That was just amazing and great people. And then as far as Estrella is concerned, we have our new light near the Walgreens there. It's up and running. And, that's...
Is that working out?
It's good.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, we've got a roundabout, a light, and another light. So it's, we're working through it. I think we're going through some growing pains. A lot of blasting work near the West Star area, and my husband keeps driving me back and forth. Look what they're doing, look what they're doing. So, and then finally, congratulations to Frogos. They have finally opened up in Estrella, and all the kids are very happy. So.
Great. Anyone else has some? Yes.
I do.
Vice Mayor?
A few things. I attended the Business Retention and Tourism Subcommittee with the Chamber. It had great presentations from Avondale, and we had a great team from Goodyear there, letting everyone know what was going on, especially with spring training. And I'd like to congratulate Principal Scarpa for being one of our Goodyear schools that she was named one of the Rodell top 10 principals in the state. Also, January 29th will be the point-in-time homeless count across Maricopa County, and I appreciate the citizens that are going to be helping and our police department with that, doing the point-in-time count. Today was actually a very interesting kind of a coming to Jesus discussion with MAG's Continuum of Care and Homelessness, and we had $23.9 million to fund 60 projects that was a lot of discussion and finally came to an agreement on. Enjoyed the Park to Pause celebration this past weekend, and also Martin Luther King this morning. And also, I know that I'm a little tardy, but I just wanted to give you my takeaways from NLC that we attended. And back 1st of December, I've been a little busy. From my sustainability class, it was interesting to hear that they talk about scoring a house and its walkability. So a walking score, if you put your street address in, and what is that home's walking score, meaning walking to parks, walking to stores, walking, walkability of it. Color coding icons for our coax, such as if something that we are going over on our coax had, say, a yellow icon, we would know that this is part of our streets sustainability. Or if there was a green color coding there, we would know that this was helping our policy on parks sustainability, things like that. It was interesting to hear about that. Also regulations on parking, that we should stop requiring so many parking spaces, and we should be giving other options like bike racks, NEV spaces, etc., things like that, getting people out of their cars and making them use other modes of transportation by limiting the acres of parking spaces that we ask for. In my fiscal health and wellness class, something that came up was to prepare a revenue manual beyond just fees. We have a nice thing that shows what all of our fees are and things like that, but a full picture revenue manual that showed all the listing of where revenues came and what you could spend, what those revenues were spent for, which would be nice for new council members too, because they don't always understand that this bond money can only be used for that, and et cetera, things like that. Having equipment, what the really cool thing was? So many things that were mentioned by the experts, the city of Goodyear already does, and I'm so proud of our city for that. Have an equipment replacement policy, an infrastructure repair and expansion policy, a funds manual, a funds guide for each fund, the regulations and rules, especially good for new council members. One of the big ones that came up, and Bill was in this class with me, reserve percents. They suggest that you should have 18% in your reserve bucket. We, as a city, are anywhere from 25 to 30%, somewhere in that. So the question was, why not have a policy that once we've reached our desired percent, whatever that figure that may be, we use those funds then for one-time projects.
I think we sort of discussed that.
These are things that have come up, and the last one, or last couple, was discussion of real costs of a program. That was something else that came up. Like if you have, I can't even think off the top of my head, just a program, what are the real costs associated with that program, and is it worth what it's costing the city? So those were some of my takeaways from Boston.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that.
Sorry
Sherry?
it took so long.
That was very interesting.
Two things with obviously, just about all of us I think attended the Park at Pause, and that was great. I just love how that neighborhood was set up. I mean, that is just something I think we need to look at when we have other developers come in, how they have the houses facing the park. It's just kind of the old-fashioned neighborhood. It's just so inviting, and it was just a great park, and it was great to see so many people out there. And I, along with a couple of my other council members, got appointed to some steering committees. I got on the Public Safety Steering Committee for the National League of Cities. So I'd like to get input from citizens if we could, when we post something, maybe get input of what they think some important issues are in that area before we have our meeting. I think the next meeting is in March.
Okay, great. Councilman Pasillo?
Just to echo some of the few comments that we've had here, but the Pocket Deposit, to me, that's what this community is all about. I mean, the whole neighborhood stepping up. I know Wally was pretty much involved in that as well, and redoing the playground area. I mean, it was fantastic. and it was quite a bit of turnout. What would you say? Was there 100? 100 people there for the dedication? I mean, to me, that's what the city is all about, you know. And again, I like to, even stress on the volunteer hours. Before we went into recession, it was 6,000. Now we're about 25,000 hours. That's fantastic with this community, the hours that people put in the volunteer time. So, I mean, that's what it says it all there. The other thing, just to follow up on the Vice Mayor, on the revenue, when we get our performance measures and start moving towards more performance-based budgeting, which we had talked about, that will get to some of the issues that she talked about. So that's it. Thank you.
Councilman Campbell, when you do that, would you just kind of give for the public, kind of talk about Park Deposit and how it came about,
Sure.
And we don't need too long of a lecture, but if you could just kind
I
of
have a real
hit the
quick.
highlights so that the public, other neighborhoods know if they have any inkling they would like to develop something like this, how one goes about it, how a community comes together. Okay?
Well, the community we're talking about is North Subdivision, and it's a very unique association made up of homeowners that live in a specific area. They had a park that was over 40 years old. Their children use that park daily, as do the mothers and the dads, and we have meetings there. We go for barbecues. We go just to walk around. And they wanted to update it. So they, on their own, decided what they wanted to do, came to the city and asked if there was some way that we could get funding for it. Thanks to Katie Wilkin, who spearheaded the grant through CBDG, we were awarded the grant. And thanks to Nathan and the city workers and a wonderful partnership of many, many people, this park was, the old equipment was removed, new equipment was installed, and even the residents helped install part of the equipment. It was such a wonderful partnership and a collaboration of all of us. This is a neighborhood that doesn't come to us and say, what will you do for us? They come and tell us what they would like, and this is what we'll do. And they work and partner with them, and it was just a joy. But I want to thank all of my colleagues for coming to share that special afternoon. It meant so much to all of them. It was a dream that they've had since 2004 when I first became aware of it, so it was a long time coming. I also wanted to share that this past week, Mayor Lord and I attended GPEC, and I'll let you mention that if you don't mind.
No, please, you do. I talk about it all the time.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, it was a meeting on economic development, and it was an educational technology panel that was absolutely amazing. And they were talking about some incubator companies and how important information technology is, and how all the communities want some of this. And of course, I'm the first one that says I think Goodyear should have one of these. But it was just a wonderful opportunity to listen. Also, this past week, I visited 4 senior centers, 1 in Peoria, 1 in Glendale, 2 in Phoenix. Next week, I have 5 more to go to, and I do this every year and go and have lunch with them and see how the senior centers are running and see what facilities or what needs that maybe Goodyear could start to do. Also, let's see, what else did we do? I can't remember. We went to the Park of Deposit. I guess that's it. I won't talk about today because next week I'll tell you what we did this week. So thank you very much, Mayor.
Yes, Bill.
That leaves me. I was out of town last week, but was able to return Saturday for Park of Deposit. I don't think I can reiterate enough how important it was for the 2 older communities that we have who are unrepresented by HOAs to be able to figure out their own needs and then take some action upon themselves. I think it really speaks tremendous about Chuck Watson and David. I can never get Dave's last name, Dave Schott. But what great leadership and everybody at North Subdivision. I'm going to talk about it today. We attended the Martin Luther King celebration today at Pebble Creek, and I did not realize that this will be the 50th anniversary of his speech this year. every time we go to one of these MLK events, I learn more and more, because obviously that was, I shouldn't say obvious, but it was before my time. But it was, yeah, sorry.
Brag,
No
brag,
offense.
brag.
But the Just Folks Club in Pebble Creek do an absolutely wonderful job of continuing Martin Luther King Jr.'s message for all of us, and really as we talk about September 11th, but it's also a never forget. So I think that it was wonderful.
Yeah, anybody else here before I speak? Okay, I agree with you, Bill. We happen to be stationed in Montgomery, Alabama at the War College, and so I got firsthand, information and demonstrations and so forth. So absolutely, Martin Luther King made a difference in the world. And today certainly showed that, which you didn't mention were the college students that spoke, the high school students that spoke. I thought they were very profound, and it was nice to know that they've been taught the history behind us all. I thought it was very comprehensive. It made sense, and so I was pleased to have been invited back again to their ceremony. And I think that the future one will probably even top this one because you see they have a goal. Well, for myself, I attended just about everything that you attended, but I was on a panel this week calling Raising Arizona with Mayor Stanton and Mayor Smith and Mayor Mitchell. So it was an interesting one for me to be on in economic development, especially in our commercial and industrial side. But really what the story told is the other cities on the other side of the valley do forget where we're at. They just make this assumption that we are at the same level that they are, and they were astounded to find out that we were only 10% developed. And the discussion came up about incentives, which I thought was very interesting. And some suggestions were made about, well, you don't need them. And they went on to really details about this. And I spoke up and I said, well, that's nice, but I think that you all presented that to companies back, 20 years ago when you were our size. And so the discussion was lively, and but out of this came from the man Donald Lieberman, who from KW Commercial that organized this. They really liked what they heard about Goodyear, so they're bringing a busload of commercial brokers. Well, I'm real pleased with it, to Goodyear. So we're looking forward to our economic development to take them around, give them the good treatment, and show them all the assets of our city. So sometimes you don't think that these things, are worthwhile to show up to and talk, but let me tell you, they are. And so it reminds me of my council, because you are out in the public and you are speaking, you are in all these different committees. So what you have to say is being listened to. So I thank you for all the additional work that you do. With that, I'm going to turn this over to our city manager. You have some information for us? Or?
Yeah, Mayor, members of the council, I just have a couple of items to go through. Although reflecting on the bus full of realtors and developers, I would suggest we make it a one-way ticket to Goodyear, and then they're stuck here, and we'll work on that, certainly.
I'll try to arrange that.
A couple of things, and one is just also a reflection. Staff, in talking to them at the celebration of Park and a Pause, they were very excited as well. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for being there. But yes, it was an incredible event. So thank you for your commitment. The Telecom facility groundbreaking 911 facility is next Tuesday, January 22nd at 9 a.m. And it will be at the site of the new facility, which is just south, part of the same complex, but just south of this building. We're excited to be moving forward with it. As was talked about earlier, it was one of those facilities that needed to be replaced, and it is. So it is a larger state-of-the-art facility for 911. Be 10,000 square feet, which leaves some room for future expansion that will get us out the next decade, certainly, decade to two. The other is it will help support a regional wireless initiative and connecting our 911 operations with various cities. So again, construction, the groundbreaking Tuesday, construction to be complete November, so actually this calendar year. Public is invited to attend the event. As mentioned last week, but we do have the folks in attendance here. We have our new public information officers, one with the city general, and then also the police department. Two great employees. I'm going to introduce them, have them stand and be acknowledged. And the first one is Mike Sakel, who joins our team as the city's public information officer. Mike, stand up. Mike has been a news reporter and columnist for the East Valley and Tempe for the last 7 years, award-winning multimedia journalist with strong background actually in covering city halls, city council, public safety, and human interest. So he's been in the business over 20 years. We're pleased to have him here in Goodyear. So, Mike, welcome aboard. We also have Lisa Kudis, who's joined the police department. And I know that the police chief, I pointed out last week that he celebrated his first anniversary with us. Today he celebrates his birth anniversary, so trying to further embarrass him. So wish him happy birthday if you get a chance. But Lisa, while you're standing up, she served 5 years with the City of Glendale as Fire Department's PIO. Prior to that, 2 years with Peoria's Fire Department. She was an elementary school teacher, so has it ties back to education, and did that in the Valley for 10 years. Specific expertise in school safety programs, which obviously is near and dear to our public safety group, and as well as the public safety programs for children. So we think that that knowledge is going to be a great asset for this organization, and thrilled to have her as well. So with that, our two public information officers. They're already sitting side by side, so a lot of brainstorming going on already. With that, Mayor, members of the council, that's all I have tonight.
I'm just going to bring something up here tonight, and not to embarrass, but from now on, when we have speaker cards, let's do them in double quickly, or bring it up to me so that I don't present myself. I feel badly when I mispronounce or I can't hear somebody's name. So if we could have double cards, you have one for yourself and one up here at the dais. All right, that would be greatly appreciated. Any more inquiries of the none? All right, well, great. So the next meeting, work session, will be on the 28th at 5 p.m. and a regular meeting at 6 p.m. So with that, the meeting is now adjourned.